is this combination of financial, strategic, and operational performance management and business intelligence. Yeah, at the end of the day, technology is the enabler.
So John, you're a vice president at BPM Partners. Tell us a little bit about what BPM Partners does.
Sure. BPM Partners, we're an advisory services firm. We assist organizations who are considering business intelligence and performance management initiatives, and we help them reduce the risk of the initiative, hopefully save time and save money as they successfully deploy their systems.
And so you focus on business intelligence and performance management, and I know that every year you run the Pulse Survey, which is a great way for people to find out what are the latest trends in the industry. What are you finding out this year?
So it's really interesting. Looking at the 2010 data, we had 84% of organizations who took the survey are still challenges around management reporting. It's still fundamentally an issue. It's something that's been going on for 15 years, and it's still an important, the highest requirement they're asking for this year.
So a large portion of organizations, small and large enterprises, I guess, are still trying to solve the most basic reporting capabilities. And so how are they looking at 2011, what are some of the things that might be the next trends that they should focus on, given that they're starting a very low level of maturity to start with?
Sure. So our view is that there's some interesting things going on. A lot of organizations have put their feet in the water already, have started the process of adopting business intelligence and performance improvements initiatives. At the same time, they're trying to create a broader vision as to what could be capable beyond that. And what we're looking at is the Holy Grail of performance management and business intelligence in 2011 is this combination of financial, strategic, and operational performance management and business intelligence to help them kind of really cross the enterprise with a more holistic approach to performance improvement.
And so can you tell us a little bit more about these three disciplines you would call? What are they specifically, and what are some of the hurdles for practicing all three inside one organization?
Sure. So let's go with the first one, the financial performance management. It's one that's probably people most often know. It's around financial reporting, budgeting and planning, financial consolidations, and so on. It's an industry that's been around for 15, 20 years on the technology side, and many organizations have done some form, even if it's simply with Excel or a more specific packaged application, they've done some in that area. The second area is around strategic performance management, really a growing area. It's about key performance indicator or KPI development, tracking initiatives against KPIs, and then also kind of reporting and cascading up and down the organization the KPIs that they adopt.
And so that's the Balanced Scorecard Collaborative. This is the work that Dr. Norton Kaplan have done. In fact, we have an interview with both Dr. Kaplan and Dr. Norton, so make sure you catch that.
Definitely.
And what's the third one, the operational side?
So the third is operational performance management. This is taking outside of the Office of Finance to the business units and to kind of really the line organization. So it could be maybe your sales organization. It could be the manufacturing floor if you're a manufacturing organization. And putting analytics in the hands of those groups that are still tied to the overall corporate performance, but are really more enabling them to do their job better. So on a sales performance management side, it might be something around profitability of certain clients or channels, making sure that sales team understands, what can we be doing for focus for 2011 to make sure that we're hitting our targets more effectively.
And so you're telling me basically it's very difficult for an organization to do all three. Do you have an example of an organization that does this well today?
There are a few, actually. It's difficult to see someone who does that really well, but I'll take one example of an organization that really invested in technology probably about 10, 15 years ago significantly and still continues to evolve. Cisco Systems is one. Cisco, I always was impressed, about 10 years ago, they had the ability on Monday morning to go ahead and have the lowest sales executives at a company be able to report their commitment for that week and have that roll all the way up to the chairman by end of the day Monday, and that way they can really have a good feeling as to what's the forecast going to look like for this upcoming week. So there's a financial component because it's obviously impacting the overall reporting component of that for the organization. Sure. There's the sales performance and operational part where the field sales organization was getting benefits of being able to get their voice heard and make a commitment for that week.
Yeah.
And then there's also a strategic component as well because you can step back from that data and be able to look at key performance indicators and trends over time.
And so this data cascading all the way up to the CEO. I don't know how many of you have this level of visibility, but it's definitely a great lesson. technology is an enabler here, but what happened for them to be able to get that level of visibility into their numbers?
At the end of the day, technology is the enabler, so it is about management processes. We consider performance management and business intelligence, when successfully deployed, a series of closed-loop management processes that help an organization to go ahead and identify, kind of what are their performance plans, and then measuring the performance against those plans. Great. And things like financial planning and budgeting and consolidation are all simple examples of that many organizations started with. But to really get to that holy grail of those three, you really need to go beyond just that straight financial performance management and business intelligence.
When you think about the role of the CIO for these three processes, what should CIOs do here? A lot of it sounds like it's driven by the CFO, I mean, specifically when you talk about, I guess, strategic and financial. But in the operational realm, it seems like there's an opportunity for the CIO to have a leading role there.
It sure is. And what I would challenge CIOs to be thinking about is, really trying to put your business hat on. And there may be some cool enabling technologies out there that are really sexy that you want to adopt, but you need to make sure that the business is pulling versus you pushing those capabilities out. So we recommend to our technical teams that we work with is, you really need to make sure you have a vision in place of where do you want to go. What roughly have a roadmap in place 3 to 5 years out from an organization, and make sure you're adopting, line of business input, Office of Finance input, and others within the organization. And then also making sure that the requirements, you're really holding the business units' feet to the fire and making sure their requirements are defined. So before you even start looking at technologies, making sure that you've gone through a process of documenting your business requirements, make sure you understand the flow there. It's a painful process sometimes to get everybody to agree, but once you go through that, it makes your decision much easier to make and also much more effective in terms of use of time.
It also seems that you should pick something that's particularly critical for the organization strategy. Earlier, you talked about profitability analytics, and I think that could be something for CIOs to focus on is how do I help my organization figure out who my best customers are and so forth. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, actually, it's funny because that's one of the more, going into the 2011 survey, is something we're definitely seeing as a high desire, is improving profitability analytics. And there's one way of thinking that, hey, this is just economy-based now, in a down economy, people can be more focused on this, but it really is it's a foundational component. I think, if anything of this down economy companies have taken away, is the idea that if they focus on profitability analytics and do that well, for things like identifying your more profitable customers, what channels are more cost effective for you, and even as we're at a retail show today, if you're SKU rationalization, if you're looking at units that you're offering to clients, making sure you're picking the right mix of SKUs that work for you. And
so tell me the story of an organization that does this well today. I mean, it seems retail is a great example here.
So I think retail is a great example, and I look at one because I am a Costco shopper. So I go there, and in Costco you will never see everything you want. But they clearly have picked items that they offer to you, which are both, they probably get a good buy on it, so they're making money on it, and there's a good turnover on the shelves. They don't have everything there, but they do have things that they know they can turn over well. And I think that's an example of really choosing profitable products that I'm sure that are effective for them to make some good money on, have good turnover, and make sure that the customers are going to be pulling it off the shelves for them.
So there are two things I'm taking away here. The first one is this idea of maturity and reporting. Not many organizations out there are where they should be, and this idea of having operational, strategic, and financial as a practice is an exception more than the rule. So as a CIO, think about enabling your organization doing that. A great way to do that is to pick a specific item that's fundamental to the organization. Customer profitability is one. Regardless if it's in crisis or if it's not in crisis, you have to know who your best customers are and what to sell them. Now, where do people find out more about your survey, the Pulse Survey?
Sure, just bpmpartners.com, Bob, Paul, Mary, Partners with an S.com. We have a survey for 2011. It's ongoing now. We're going to have a preview of the results at the end of the month, but also the final results will be compiled probably in the March 2011 timeframe. So we invite anybody to please participate in this survey.
That's great. We'll also have a survey on the LinkedIn group for BITV. And in fact, John, I'm going to ask you what you think is going to be the trend for analytics in 2020. So let me run through the options, and you can tell me what you think. The first one is, so the question is, where will analytics be in 2020? One is culture will still be an issue. Two is 100% of analytics will be integrating in processes. So basically, they'll be transparent to end users. Unstructured analytics will take the lead, meaning there'll be more analytics about social media, text, video, and audio than there is about structured information. Then there's also analytics will be pushed rather than pulled, which is this idea of analytics looking for the users rather than the user looking for information. And finally, the last one is usability will not be improved. If I look at our current stats, because we've had quite a few people answer, it seems that if you're a woman, you think that usability is not going to be improved, but if you're a man, you believe in unstructured analytics. So now, John, what's your opinion?
Well, call me old school, but I still do think that culture is going to be a challenge with analytics going forward. I think there still is a communication void that exists between the Office of IT and the Office of Finance of the line of business. And I think that the leading successful organizations are going to be able to bridge that gap and create organizational teams to be able to take some of these cool technologies that organizations like Microsoft develop and apply them in creative ways that are going to really address real business issues. And I think there's still a gap to make sure that you do have a roadmap in place, create your vision of where you want to go, and then also make sure you communicate with your stakeholders. We don't see many organizations doing that well. So I think that you still need to focus on culture, getting organizations to adopt, make sure you don't put technology as the driver, technology should be the enabler.
Great, well thank you very much for your time,
Bruno,
John.
it's a pleasure meeting you.
Until next time, I'm Bruno Ziza.